Anthony Davis, does he actually have one of the highest peaks in NBA history? And it's a little weird because traditionally when we talk about the best players ever, we talk about a season or multiple seasons and playoff runs and, great 82 games. And Anthony Davis to me is not a player who's really ever exhibited the ability to dominate 82 games. Because with Davis, this guy in a single game, a single series, a single stretch, just dominates basketball games and matchups. We saw this in the NBA Cup. Cook up a game plan around Anthony Davis, and you're good to go. And oh, by the way, he had 40 points and 20 rebounds in the game as well as dominating defensively. What do we make of this? It's weird, right? It's crazy, but also, how many players would you rather have when he's on?
Are you talking about both on offense and on defense here?
Well, here's the thing, and we'll get to the defense in a second. But on offense, the thing that's so critical to me is that he takes advantage of mismatches. So you cannot switch, casually and think you're going to get away with it, like if he's Rudy Gobert or Evan Mobley or even Jaren Jackson, some of the other top big man defenders in the league. You can't do that because when he's engaged, he will go right to the block. He will have his Bundini Brown, LeBron James, telling him, get right into that guy's chest, throw the ball inside, pound him, and take advantage of him with your size. And he will do that if you switch. He will do that if you try to play small ball. And so you say, okay, we're in the playoffs. We need a different lineup. We're the Golden State Warriors. We're going to go small and try to use that to our advantage on offense. Anthony Davis is coming right down the court, and he's going right to the post, and he's either going to score, draw a foul, or we saw it in the championship game of the NBA Cup, he's going to start inhaling offensive rebounds. Don't take lightly grabbing 4, 5, 6 offensive rebounds in a game, because usually that comes with 2 or 3 fouls. He fouled out Miles Turner the other night, practically just on the glass, just trying to keep him off the glass. That's the part, to me, where the offense is connected to the defense, and it's such a big deal in the playoffs because he's like bulletproof. He's almost sort of scheme proof. There's nothing you can do to take that away, really.
I'm glad you said that because his offense, to me, seems so inelastic. Like, the floor it's relatively high. It's not to the point where, you're going to get a great offense out of it, but it's the type of offense that it kind of doesn't matter what sort of defender you put on him down there. He's going to have pretty much the same sort of efficiency, unless there's a mismatch, and he's able to handle that pretty well because, like you said, against Miles Turner, you see a couple of these possessions where he just blows by him. I think when he gets the face-up game from about 16 feet out or so, dribbles, gets a little crossover, and gets to the rim, the extension with his layup or dunks is just if he gets by you, there's no way you're going to be able to catch up to him. Or like you said, he gets a nice little mismatch in the post, spins baseline, and again, the length. All of a sudden, he's going up around the other side of the basket and finishing it that way. Now, the double-edged sword of it all, though, is I feel like the Lakers, when I watch them playing offense, is there's almost too many sets where the play is all right, Anthony Davis, here's your post-up. Here's your ISO from 16 feet. We're going to kind of, clear out this side of the floor, and we're going to let you cook a little bit. And unfortunately, cooking for him is shooting 20% from long mid-range for the season.
But this is what makes it so weird, because when his shot is going, it will go for an entire playoff series or multiple playoff series. We saw this in the bubble, and I think a lot of people attribute that specifically to the bubble setting, and it might have contributed to it. But we had the same thing in the playoffs last year, where the playoffs started, and they play the Memphis Grizzlies and the Golden State Warriors, and he just starts making mid-range shots all of a sudden. And so that is a great point, but how do you weigh that when let's say you're trying to win a championship, you're trying to beat the best teams, and you have some decent probability of getting Anthony Davis just smashing 55% mid-range jumpers over elite defenses in the playoffs out of nowhere, while also conceding that most of the time, and especially during the regular season, he could shoot 35% on these shots, and they're not really good offense. It's really weird.
Bet the lobs, I don't know if there's been a better lob finisher in history, and then when he's paired with LeBron James, who's, one of the best lob throwers in history, or one of the best pocket pass throwers in history, one of the best, again, just half-court passers in history, that's a dynamic duo that when you have all of that paired in, when you have the offensive rebounds, the rolling to the rim, using his speed, if the jumper's on, oh my God, like we're talking about like competing for the best player in the league, competing for top 3 players in the league. But then it's like the other space of it all when it's like, what if all of that stuff's not actually happening? What about those playoff games when he has 11 points and 7 rebounds, and not to just like box score watch, but like that's not 40-20. Like there's going to be, with Anthony Davis, he's going to be a bit more valuable if he has 40 points and 20 rebounds as opposed to like 11 points and 7 rebounds or something like that. So I don't know.
2020 postseason. They go to the bubble. They play the Portland Trailblazers. And in that series, Davis is asked to come out to the level of the screen to deal with Damian Lillard's white-hot pull-up shooting at that time. He was on fire. So he's versatile and mobile enough to do that. Then they go to the Houston Rockets in the next round. In the Houston Rockets series, they cook up a scheme. Remember, that was the micro ball, D'Antoni, Houston Rockets, Russell Westbrook. They'll put Anthony Davis on Russell Westbrook. Anthony Davis can guard Russell Westbrook in 5-out space as the center, but then also switch and trap and chase James Harden. And they had this trapping scheme. And then he's on the weak side and he can make plays on the weak side and recover all over the place. Then in the finals against the Miami Heat, you mentioned it. You need to guard Bam Adebayo? He can do that. Jimmy Butler's taking over and he's scoring. We'll just switch him on to Jimmy Butler, even though nominally Davis is the center and Jimmy Butler's a small forward, and he can shut down Jimmy Butler and have a transcendent defensive game that way. Last year in the playoffs, against the Golden State Warriors, they have this crazy scheme where they're using Davis to catch all the guards and funnel all the guards toward him as they stand on top and push the guards downhill. And that really, really disrupted the Golden State offense. And they went through this whole cat and mouse game of how do we pull Davis out of the paint? And then the Lakers were like, we're not going to involve him in the pick and roll. And it didn't matter. He basically dictated the series defensively because of his presence. Then you go to the Denver Nuggets series. They did not win the Denver Nuggets series. But what did they do in the Denver Nuggets series? They're like, what we're going to do is we're going to have Davis roam off Jokic so he can disrupt the passing lane. And there were a ton of possessions and stretches of that series where that actually worked, where you saw Jokic bothered or committing turnovers that basically no one else in the league can force from him. And Cody, that doesn't even just get into the generalities of the fact that he can play drop coverage, come down the lane, he'll contest a shot beautifully, very, very high level there. He can switch out on the perimeter against small players, and he doesn't give up anything. And in fact, he can really bother small players in that position. In the championship game against the Pacers of the NBA Cup, we saw him trap and then recover behind the play. It's just like he can play any different coverage that you need to deploy. And when you look at the regular season numbers, the stats don't pop defensively. They're good, but they're not like all time. When you get to the playoffs, they tend to look much better, and I think that's the reason why.
I'm thinking about the Pacers game again here. I don't remember exactly who it was he was closing out in the corner, but somebody kicks to the corner. Somebody that's one of the Pacers has the ball in the corner, and Anthony Davis like jumps out, like full-blown both hands in the air to chase the guy off the corner, and you're like, wow, Anthony Davis is out of the play. No, Ben! He's not out of the play. Anthony Davis runs back to the rim and blocks the other player under the rim. It's genuinely like GOAT-level defensive plays like that, where when a player starts making those kinds of plays, you have to start thinking like, this is legitimately some of the best defense I've ever seen.
Thanks for listening. You can find the full episode of this Thinking Basketball podcast on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, or wherever you enjoy podcasts.